Didn't have a CD player. I didn't have, there were no MP3 players or anything like that at that time. Hello, and welcome to my podcast. I'm your host, Dapo Peters, and this is Music and Nostalgia. I created this podcast a little while ago because I was looking for a way to express some of my experiences and some of my love for music. And I found that one of the connectors that we have across all cultures, all relationships, all age groups, oftentimes, there's other areas, but oftentimes music plays an important role. I can think of many times that I've been in many situations where there were no real relatable conversations or nothing on the surface made us feel like we had anything in common, but song would come on or something would come in the subject line of music and it could tie us together in a way that we could all feel like, I know you, you know me, like, why? Okay, I feel that. And so that's why I started on the idea. There were other elements that had me thinking of why I'd like to create a podcast. And for one, I just wanted to find a space to create something where I had creative liberties, where I could hone the subject, to hone the idea to fit my desired perspective on the world. Many perspectives out there, and I just wanted to use music and nostalgia to be a way to find how many ways we are similar when we're so often thinking of how many ways we're different. So this came about. I'll tell you a little bit about myself so I can help you see the perspective that I'm having here. I was born in Los Angeles, but when I was very young, at the age of probably before I was 2, my parents decided to move back to Nigeria, which is where we're from. I know some of you just heard me say Dapo because you're used to me saying Dapo, right? But I had to change it just to make it easier for the world around here in the United States. Well, anyway, to my story. When I was in Nigeria, I grew up there until I was in my early teens. But just before I moved to the States, I went to a school in the northern part of Nigeria in a city called Jos, one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived. And I got a chance to go to school with kids from all over the world. I had the opportunity of being exposed to people from Lebanon and from South Korea, Australia, Austria, you name it, Poland, the United States, Canada. I got to go to school with kids from all over the world. And there was some great things about that. It exposed me to so many different cultures. It opened my eyes to different ways of living and perspectives on living and lifestyle choices and things like that. Now, one of the things that it also did was shifted me away from being so immersed in my Nigerian Yoruba culture. So I didn't get so intertwined in it that I was 100% aware of my culture. I didn't get that chance because I had the chance to be exposed to so many other cultures, so many other people from around the world, so many cuisines, so many dances and clothing and all of those things. And I was really excited about that. I take nothing away from that, but pleasure and growth. I got to see the world in a perspective that I probably wouldn't have if I was just set in my own little cubicle of life as a Yoruba man or Yoruba boy at the time in Nigeria. But I had the opportunity to see the world from the perspective of all my friends by the food that they brought and things like that. And I was really excited about that because I got to learn about people and where their perspective comes from, why they see the world the way they do. Well, in my early teens, I was probably about 14 on my way to 15. My parents and a family friend, they both decided that, you know what, it's high time, we're just going to move the kids. And so they decided we heard of it the very end of November, and it came into reality the very beginning of December. So, I mean, it was a quick turnaround. Like, we probably had a week as kids to know that they had made a decision that we were going to be moving. So we got to say our goodbyes, had our final in the end of semester party and things like that, so that we could pack up our things, head to Lagos, and immediately fly out to the United States. It was a bit of a shock because there was that feeling of leaving the ones that I knew, the friends that I had spent quite a few years living with and growing with and experiencing my early teen years with. And I was thinking, man, like, I don't want to leave the beauty of this experience where we got to have Christmas carol, and we got a chance to do plays and performances on campus. And I knew the space, I knew the people. I was now comfortable with the variety that I had experienced in that space. And when I told people that we were moving to the States, there's always, in whatever space we're in, the doubters, the negative, the people that don't have necessarily something nice to say. And a lot of those happened, and it was interesting because it was like, oh, be careful out there, we don't know who you come across, and all the babbling and yapping. And I got nervous because I really was comfortable where I was. And I know you can relate, because we all form a comfort zone, and we tend to want to stay within those confines. And that was where I was at the time. But when we moved to the United States, I thought immediately, it's time to explore the new world. We were going in December. We were traveling in December to the United States, and I moved to Decatur, Georgia at the time. And I was excited about the idea of being back in the States, because I'd always visited, always spent time here in the States, but I'd never had a chance to just come here to be able to live since I was a kid. And so when I got to Decatur, I was going to be staying with my uncle and our family friend. We were all going to camp out at his house until they found their place and they could move into their own place. And so I was like, oh, bet I get to hang at least with some familiar faces for a little while into the holiday season and get to really experience that with them. Well, came one of my experiences to enjoy Atlanta. And what did it mean? It meant, listening to the radio, because I didn't have a CD player. I didn't have, there were no MP3 players or anything like that at that time. So I was like, bet, I'm just going to go ahead and listen to some of the music on the radio, because everybody was jamming to this one station all the time. And so that became my anchor for finding out what music was like in Atlanta, Georgia. So it comes on, and of course it's a holiday season, so I'm expecting to hear some of my all-time favorites. We wish you a Merry Christmas, all of the poppy sounding, happy sounding Christmas music, or jingle bells, jingle. I know y'all are singing along with me right now, because it's real. And then I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, all of that. I was expecting that. And of course, one of my all-time favorites, Silent Night. And I mean, Silent Night, like, the one you hear carolers singing, but I'm talking about the real Silent Night. Y'all know, Motown lovers, Temptation lovers, you know what I'm talking about, right? That Silent Night. And I was so excited. I was like, oh man, I'm about to be jamming out. Well, the radio comes on and I'm hearing music playing, and eventually I hear something that's starting to sound familiar, different tempo, different pace. I'm excited, and it's these bells rattling, ching 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 ching, and I'm thinking, ooh, I think I know what this is. They probably sped it up, so I'm like, I bet I'm ready. It's one of my favorites. It's 12 Days of Christmas, right? Everybody knows what it is, right? I to this day, I do not know what all 12 days are. I just never learned that wasn't important to me. The only ones that were important were like the 5th day of Christmas. Everybody knows on the 5th day Christmas you got 5 gold rings, and on the first day of Christmas it was a partridge and a something tree, whatever it was. You guys know what it is. I told you I never learned the words. Well, I listened to the radio, and the first thing I hear is ching ching ching, like 3 seconds in, and it's like, hey player, what you gonna get her for Christmas? What you gonna get that girl? I was like, wait, what is going on here? And then And of course, with the sound of Christmas, what I grew up to, everything was, you paid homage and reverence to Santa. Like Santa was that dude. You didn't want to upset him because you didn't want to get a cold or anything. So, and these guys are here talking about like, look here, Santa, this the deal. I was like, this the deal? Who are you? Like, and what do you expect to get from Santa talking to him like that? So I was completely thrown off. And remember, I told you that, the fifth day of Christmas is one that I always remembered. It's like five. Well, they had two versions. It's a 5 fresh gold chains, or what's the other one? 5 months free rent. And I was like, yo, like, what are we talking about here? I was exposed to something that was like completely outside of the norm for me, so outside of my sphere of understanding and appreciation. I mean, and they were talking about on the first day of Christmas that they wanted a Cadillac to put it all in. Now, futuring out, like now, I appreciate it because of the creativity and understanding more of what the experiences were like for these guys and the artist that did the song, 69 Boyz. I was not expecting that from the American selection of music of modern day at the time in '95 that I was exposed to was the obvious notable ones like Biggie versus Tupac and like Nas and some of those guys. So I had minimal exposure. Again, I told you I went to a very mixed international school. So if I didn't have a personal connection, somebody that was bringing in some of that stuff, that new selection of music, I wasn't getting it. And I definitely wasn't getting anything from the South. I mean, like, not at all. If I was getting anything, it was from the West Coast and from New York and all of that area. Like, I never heard any Southern music. I hadn't heard of one of my favorite groups to this day, Outkast, like the Goats. I'd never heard of the style of hip hop. So it was a complete shock to my system because, you come from jingle bells, jingle all the way to, hey, player, what you gonna get her for Christmas, right? I was confused. Like, as a Nigerian boy, I was like, what happened? Like, waiting. Like, I was not sure how to turn and look at this thing and appreciate it. But the beauty of it was my first Christmas in the States. I was still excited. I was curious. I was confused. I remember hearing that in the first time I was in the car, in the backseat. We were on our way to the grocery store. I think it was Kmart because, Kmart was hopping at that point. And I was thinking, yo, like, this is a joke, right? I was thinking it was like one of those Weird Al songs where somebody was just making a goofy version of the 12. And then I realized it was not. That was a real deal song. Like, it was legit on the radio every day, every couple of hours, because the radio, they gonna play the heavens out of a song, and they did. And next thing you know, I'm over here bopping and moving to the song because I'm like realizing that, okay, this is not going anywhere. So I might as well learn a little bit about what I'm being exposed to. It's not necessarily one of my favorite Christmas songs, but I'll tell you what, it's something I appreciate and I enjoy now because every single time that I hear the song, every time that it plays, it takes me right back to that first experience of hearing the song and being exposed to that was my initiation to the exposure to Southern music, to the Southern culture of the United States. And of course, being in the Atlanta, Georgia area, it was like, oh man, this is one of the hubs for culture, even back then. And I was just so excited to experience something new, to be exposed to something different, to learn what music and culture was like out here. After I had to get past my shock and learn to adjust and learn to expand my comfort zone and start to appreciate a new scope, a new style of music. It took a little while. And even to this day, there's still songs from back then that I'm just now getting a better understanding of because of the time I've spent here. But you think about it, it's been 20 something years, but every time that song comes on, it takes me right back to the moment. I mean, I can remember feeling cold at a level I hadn't felt it before, because I, again, came from Nigeria where uh, 80 degrees was the norm year round, you know? So I was blown. I was shocked. I was like, yo, dude, like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to function in this space. But it was things like that, the music that I got to hear, and the people that I got to hear relating to the songs that I had no exposure to prior to that, that started to open my eyes, open my heart, and build my ability to live in whatever space I'm in and find the beauty in where I am and with whom I'm hanging out with or around. And that's the magic and the beauty of what music can do for us. It can pull us out of our funk. It can pull us out of the dark spot. It can pull us out of confusion and bring us into a new space, a space that help us appreciate the beauty of who we are, appreciate the beauty of where we are, and appreciate the beauty of how times change and things evolve. So if you're ever wondering, like, yo, how can I look at music and find a connector, an inspiration? Just find it in every simple song that you know. It could be as simple as the 69 Boyz singing the 12 ghetto days of Christmas, that can take you to a place that you hadn't realized you'd been before, or that a place that will elevate your spirit, lift you up, and even, confuse you a bit, because now you're thinking, how did I get here? How did I get exposed to this story? How did I learn this type of experience? Well, the beauty of it is that there is so many songs. Not every single song ties to a memory. Not every single song ties to a past. Not every single song ties us to an experience. But a lot of times, songs that don't even relate to a particular situation can tie you to a memory, because all of a sudden there's a note in there that pulls something out of you. It ties you to an experience. I heard it said in a book that I'm reading that if you write music, or if you hear music, if you get music that is so good that it catches people's hearts, it will stay and live forever. And that's where the nostalgia comes in, because it pulls you to a place that you hadn't realized you wanted to be in, so you can lift yourself out of whatever space it is, or even continue to elevate yourself in whatever moment it is. Now, I do understand that there are also painful memories that songs can anchor to, but a lot of times we can always find the beauty in those memories as well. Not necessarily all the time, but we can have the opportunity to create the beauty out of the ashes, as I've heard it said many times. So that's the beauty of what the 69 Boyz and 12 Ghetto Days of Christmas means to me. That was my first Christmas in the United States, living in Atlanta, in Decatur, Georgia. Let me get it right. Decatur, where's greater, don't be no hater. I think that's the saying. If it's not, it is today. For those of you from Georgia, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm pretty right on this one right here. But anyway, so that's my experience with that time period. And I hope that this story ties into some of your experiences. Not necessarily the exact same thing, not the same song, not the same experience, but the similarities of stepping out of your comfort zone, stepping into a space that you weren't familiar with, and now having to connect to something that you weren't fully aware of, getting to connect, should I say, because it's a privilege, it's an honor, it's a good fortune when we get to experience something new in a time and space that we weren't necessarily prepared for. So that's what you'll be coming here to this podcast every week to learn about, to hear about. Hopefully you get some stories that'll make you laugh, that'll make you cry, that lift your spirits, that give you a different perspective on life, because that's what we're here for, right? We're here to learn, to ever evolve, to ever grow, to continue to be better than we were the day before. And the way we do it is by learning from others. And I hope I get to learn from as much from you as you will from me. There'll be episodes coming out every single week where you get to hear some of my stories. But I'm also excited because I'm going to bring on some friends. I'm going to have some guests on here that will share their stories, share their experiences, give you a chance to really feel that as different as we think we are, deep down on the inside, there's so many things that align us and give us similarities in the stories that we share. So I'm looking forward to you as my friends on here on this podcast to learn more about me, but more importantly, to learn more about yourself. Because once we learn about yourselves, when we learn about ourselves, should I say, we become a better version of ourselves, because we can now take lessons from our errors and we can take jewels from our lessons. So that's what I'm hoping for every single person that joins me on this podcast, is to just come on to the next episode of Music and Nostalgia and get your fill. Something that'll put a smile on your face, that'll lift your spirit. And just know that you can always subscribe to my podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher. Look, you name it. We all over the place. We everywhere. It's going down. And for those of you that want to catch a visual, you can join me on YouTube. Come see how I'm smiling and gleaming from ear to ear right now, because I'm loving this experience. This is new for me, and I know for you, it will be a new experience as well. Looking forward to seeing you share your responses. Please let me know if there's anything in the story that ties to you, that anchors to you, that has you thinking that, yeah, I've been there. I know what that is like. I can't wait to hear your stories, because we all have stories, and it doesn't seem like a big deal until somebody else hears it and they realize that you've been through something as similar as them and something that really touches their heart. So Music and Nostalgia will be here every week. Stay plugged in, keep smiling, feel good, and let's pull up some good old memories. Have a good time, guys. Thanks for joining me.